The box arrived in a padded crate that smelled faintly of old resin and whetstone. The courier signed fast, as if eager to be rid of it. Mara filmed the unboxing for her occult history channel, joking about clickbait curses. Her laugh kept clipping on the mic, like a radio losing signal. On the lid, letters scorched in Hebrew wavered like heat above asphalt. The marks didn't reflect light so much as swallow it. Ethan read the provenance note aloud, tracing dates from Krakow to Chicago. Every owner had sold quickly, citing domestic disturbances and a shadow in the hall. They promised each other this would be a controlled test with boundaries. Then they broke the first boundary by opening the box after midnight. The hinges shrieked like a fork on porcelain. Long and metal dry, a cool draft sifted through the room, although every window was sealed. Inside lay dried petals, a tarnished ring, and a stoppered vial of something the color of old tea. The smell was like a cellar where prayers had mold. Ethan's camera glitched to green for 3 frames, then returned. Mara said it was sensor noise, but her eyes wouldn't meet the lens. They closed the lid and logged their first impressions, trying to sound scientific. The audio captured a second voice, slow and breathy, finishing their sentences. That night, the apartment settled in unfamiliar ways, wood popping like knuckles. The hallway light buzzed until it died with a small, apologetic gasp. Mara dreamed of a staircase spiraling down beneath the city, each step numbered backward. At the bottom, a door opened into a room smaller than its furniture. Ethan woke to find his phone recording on its own, pointed at the closet. The playback showed the closet door breathe in and out, gentle as sleep. At breakfast, their milk curdled around the spoon in slow clouds. The coffee machine burped steam and spit out a perfect oily ring. They agreed to do a blessing with salt and music, a compromise between superstition and sound design. The box sat patient on the table like a verdict. Mara circled it with a line of kosher salt, hands steady, voice steadier. Ethan played an old cantorial recording he found in a public archive. The chant rose like scaffolding around a building that wasn't there. The salt line drifted inward, as if pulled by a tide only the box could feel. A neighbor knocked to complain, saying the song made his dog hide in the shower. He had a small cut on his cheek shaped like a comma. They paused the ritual, and the room instantly grew warmer. The dog next door started barking with the conviction of a witness. Mara researched the Dybbuk legend again, this time reading slower. A Dybbuk is not a ghost, she said. It's a clinging intention with teeth. Ethan suggested returning the box to the seller, but the listing had vanished. He swore he bookmarked it, and the browser history showed only blank lines. In the afternoon, their studio lights kept tripping the breaker. The breaker panel felt cold enough to fog their breath. They moved the box to a metal shelf, just to be practical. The shelf tilted a degree and then more, fighting a weight that shouldn't have been heavy. Mara started hearing a knocking from inside cabinets, polite and rhythmic. She answered out loud by accident, and the knocks shifted closer. Ethan scrubbed the footage from the first night and found thin silhouettes. The shapes froze between frames, like something choosing which slice of time to live in. They called Rabbi Levin, who had once tolerated their questions with patient humor. He listened quietly and then asked if the ring was still inside. When they checked, the ring sat where they left it, but colder. Frost smudged the wood beneath in a ring that didn't melt for minutes. Rabbi Levin said not to wear it, not even for a test. He told them to keep the lid shut, and their mouths too, as much as possible. Mara laughed because fear always made her laugh, then apologized. The phone line crackled like a campfire when there's no wood. They agreed to store the box at Ethan's workshop for a week. The elevator stalled between floors with them, and the crate intact. Emergency lights painted everything the color of an old bruise. A whisper moved along the ceiling panels as if looking for a seam. When power returned, the elevator was on their floor again. The time on their watches had split by 7 minutes they couldn't recover. At the workshop, they set the box on a workbench scarred by more honest tools. A wind chime from a previous project rang though the air was perfectly still. Ethan taped a small cross of gaffer over the lid to detect tampering. He filmed it. Mops, dust motes streamed like minnows against a current. In the middle of the time-lapse, a single frame was pure black. When it resumed, the tape cross was peeled back and laid flat like a careful handkerchief. They reviewed their consent forms, the joke contracts they always signed before a risky shoot. Each signature was slanted the same unfamiliar way. Mara's mother called to say she felt a pressure in her chest around midnight. She asked if someone had been praying for her or against her. Ethan found the vial from the box, sweating amber tears. He dabbed one onto paper, and it burned a hole slow as a cigarette on carpet. They debated calling the police to report something that had no crime. Instead, They bought more salt and a brand new smoke detector. At 3:07 a.m., the detective screamed and then apologized with silence. No smoke, no heat, just a smell like pennies and wet burlap. Mara saw a figure in the reflection of the workshop window, small, patient, slightly sideways. When she turned, the room was as empty as good manners. They tried sealing the box in a plastic tote, latching every latch. The box thudded once like a heart, and the tote lid flexed inwards. Rabbi Levin arrived with a small team and a soft voice. He asked for water, salt, and a story told without jokes. Mara told the story from the beginning, careful as a surgeon. Ethan stood beside the camera but didn't press record. The rabbi traced letters in the air that reminded Mara of scaffolding again. One assistant hummed a melody that stopped exactly before it became familiar. They tried a binding prayer that felt like a fence being built quickly. The box answered by going very quiet, which felt worse. The wind chime rang 3 times, not breezy but deliberate. The third tone hung like a nail that won't dry. Levin said the Dybbuk was not in the box so much as around it. It has mistaken your attention for a door, he added gently. He advised them to return every object to the box and seal it with wax. Intention is the lock, he said, not the wax. They placed the petals back, the ring last, like a period at the end of a sentence. Myra's hands shook and steadied, shook and steadied. Ethan heated wax with a camp stove until it went glassy. The wax pooled over the lid seemed like a quiet lake. As it cooled, hairline cracks crawled across the seal in branching lines. The room smelled briefly of a synagogue and a basement at once. Levin spoke to the air as to a guest who had stayed too long. He thanked it for its story and suggested a better ending. The lights brightened the way a face lifts after bad news passes. Mara realized she had been crying without the drama of sobs. They carried the sealed box to Ethan's car like pallbearers. The car suspension sagged more than it should have for such a small coffin. On the drive to the agreed repository, every red light turned yellow just as they reached it. The city felt complicit and tired. They stopped at a gas station where the pumps all blinked error. The clerk scratched a lottery ticket and said, "You'll want to keep moving." Back on the road, a mist rose from nowhere and kept pace with them. Traffic thinned until they were the only story on the highway. Levin led them to a small cemetery with a view of power lines. He had permission, he said. Some histories need quiet neighbors. They placed the box in a shallow brick vault already waiting with old soot. The bricks looked recently cleaned, which made the soot seem selective. Levin poured salt in a spiral that ended at the vault like a question mark. He asked them to speak intentions they could keep. Mara promised to stop filming things that fed on eyes. Ethan promised to keep certain doors closed even when Data begged. They slid the stone cover into place with a dozen little scrapes. The scrapes did not echo as if the ground was listening carefully. The rabbi finished with a prayer that felt like returning a book on time. The wind moved through the power lines in a sound like long hair combed. On the ride back, the mist retreated into the tree line as if embarrassed. The radio caught a clear station and then a clearer silence. That night, Mara slept a whole hour without dreams, and then 3 with them. In the last one, a door waited at the bottom of an ocean stairwell. Ethan edited the footage they hadn't meant to record. Every time the box entered frame, the audio dipped as if taking a breath. They agreed not to publish, and then agreed again when the temptation returned. The views would have been a pulsing, hungry number. Mara mailed the ring to a museum curator she trusted. No return address. The tracking number refreshed twice and then became a symbol she didn't recognize. The curator called from a borrowed phone to say the package arrived sealed and humming. She would store it off-site, and no, they should not visit. For 2 days, the apartment was just an apartment again. The hallway light warmed on the first try, humble and useful. Ethan noticed the tote they had used for the box was still warped. He set it at the curb with a free sign and didn't watch it leave. Mara's mother sent a photo of the cut roses she kept in the kitchen. Their stems were perfectly straight, as if they had agreed to good behavior. They returned the borrowed prayer books with bakery scones in apology. Levin accepted both and reminded them that doors swing both ways. One night the smoke detector chirped once like a bird cleared its throat. Then nothing followed, which felt like a sentence missing its verb. Ethan checked the workshop's security footage out of habit. Between 2:13 and 2:14 a.m., all frames were there, and none of them were true. He visited the cemetery at noon, just to be certain. The vault stone sat flat, and someone had left 3 pebbles like signatures. He thought of lifting the stone just to check, the way you check a sleeping child. He didn't lift it because he wanted to be a different man. Mara began recording new episodes about safer artifacts, apotropaic mirrors, saint medallions, salt cellars shaped like boats. Her laugh returned with its old, ordinary edges. They spoke on camera about responsibility and the cost of attention. The comments were kind in a way that made them suspicious and grateful. At a street fair, a vendor sold boxes carved with vines and tiny birds. Mara's hands hovered and then chose a simple wooden bowl instead. Ethan replaced the studio's flickering ballast and rewired the breaker. The panel no longer exhaled winter when he opened it. They still heard knocks sometimes, but they were the honest knocks of neighbors. When they answered, there was a person on the other side. The dog next door went back to barking at real things. Mail, scooters, the proud rustle of its own leash. Its owner's cheek healed to a small, pale dash. A package arrived with no sender, only a careful hand. Inside was the ring in a clear bag with museum tags and the word rejected. Mara sealed the bag inside, 3 more bags, and placed it in a locked drawer. The drawer key felt heavier than metal should, like a word with history. Levin suggested they bring the ring to the same vault. Objects like company, he said, especially the kind we don't want them to keep. At dusk, they returned to the cemetery with the ring and a fresh taper candle. Dusk leaned long across the stones, patient as a queue. The vault stone slid easier this time, as if it had been waiting for manners. The air beneath was not cold. It was attentive. They set the ring on the box and closed everything fast but careful. The candle went out between their hands without smoke. Back home, their hallway light turned on before they touched the switch. It was not a miracle. It was a truce. They kept the footage on a hard drive labeled taxis to discourage snooping. Sometimes labels are locks when locks are stories. Mara wrote a private note. "We are not haunted. We are responsible." She taped it inside the camera case where only work could read it. Ethan drafted a new release form that included silence as a deliverable. He signed it with the steadiness of someone who had learned the cost. They donated to the cemetery fund anonymously and felt their shoulders drop. Charity is another kind of salt when you spread it with both hands. The wind chime in the workshop rang once during a summer storm and then behaved. Thunder rolled like furniture in the apartment above heaven. Mara's mother sent a voice message singing a lullaby from her childhood. For once, the recording captured nothing extra, and that was perfect. They visited a seaside town for 3 days and collected smooth, obedient stones. The ocean kept its own boxes, endless and loud. On the last night, they lit a candle and let it burn all the way down. The wax made no maps, only a soft hill that meant nothing at all. When they returned, the hallway light flicked twice like a wink and stayed on. They laughed, small and human, and went inside without ceremony. Some doors stay closed because we learn the shape of our hands. The box remained where they left it, and that was the point of the story.